line, explore. Miss B in the house, dropping knowledge ain't a chore. Grammar to giggles, we keeping it tight. Every sentence got swagger, every comma got bite. Words come to life when you vibe with me. Learning feels lit, English with Miss B. Style, voice, nuance, drip. We flip that script, take a power trip. Grammar's got grit and punctuation bites. We battle with verbs and soar through the night. So raise your pens and let's ignite. With Miss B, we'll write it right. English with Miss B. Say it loud, set your writing free.
Hello everybody and welcome back to English with Miss B. Today we're diving into something that shows up in every good story, poem, and even those important blog entries. It's that secret sauce that tells us what the writer really feels. Yep, today's topic is all about tone. Now, I know that we were supposed to do the blog entry lesson today, but I figured that without getting into what exactly tone is, we can't really do justice to the topic of the blog. So I just want to do a quick tutorial on tone before we move on to the blog. Thank you. Stay tuned, grab a cup of your favorite hot beverage, and let's get right into it. So, tone is actually the author's attitude towards the subject they're writing about. It's the way they feel about what they're writing. If the author feels hopeful, that is their tone. Now, if you, as the reader, feel sad or inspired or motivated from what you've read, that's called the mood. So they are related because the tone of the writer affects our mood as the reader, but they are not the same thing. Secondly, it's important to understand the distinction between the writer's tone and their voice. So, a quick rule of thumb is that tone refers to the attitude of the writer, and that is specific to a particular context, that text, that format of text. So all of these things govern the writer's attitude, whereas their voice refers to their personality. And as we know, a person's personality remains pretty constant. So if you look at authors like John Grisham, for instance, or Nora Roberts, who have several books under their belt, we can trace the common threads between their books, and that is their distinctive personality, their distinctive voice showing through, despite whatever the plot of the story is and the characterization, etc. So voice is more consistent, whereas tone can shift depending on the topic, mood, or purpose of the text. How do writers get it right? How do they create the perfect tone? Well, tone is created through word choices or diction, sentence structure, POV or point of view, and even how formal or informal they sound. It's kind of like choosing your outfit for the day. You dress differently for a job interview than you would for a day at the beach, for instance. So writers adjust their tone in the same way. Tone and genre are closely linked because tone adds depth and authenticity to the genre of a text. Let's examine a few excerpts to see how tone informs genre. In example 1, I want you to guess the genre based on the tone of the text. Here we go. You won't believe what happened after third period. Let's just say it involved a frog, a fire alarm, and Principal Douglas running down the hall with his toupee flapping like a panicked bird. I swear I'm not making this up. Okay, what do you think? The tone is totally humorous and casual, right? This feels like a contemporary teen comedy. Which words gave it away? For me, it was flapping like a panicked bird. What did it for you? Example 2. The wind howled through the broken shutters, and somewhere in the darkness, a piano note rang out, long and mournful. A shiver crawled across her spine as she stepped into the abandoned parlor. Oh, that was really creepy, right? This tone seems to be quite suspenseful and eerie, definitely gothic horror, I'd say. The setting feels alive because of the chilling tone. Example 3. She tightened her grip on the staff and raised it toward the sky. The storm answered her call, lightning cracking like a whip across the heavens. This time, she would not fail. Boom. That's the sound of fantasy. Heroic and epic. The tone here makes the moment feel larger than life. Example 4. It was the kind of silence that wasn't empty. It was full of all the words we didn't say. I sat across from him, watching the rain slide down the cafe window, and wondered how two people who loved each other could feel so far apart. Oh, this one hits right in the feels, right? The tone is intimate, reflective, and a little sad. Definitely something from a romance or contemporary drama. And here's the last example. We've run the simulation 1,000 times, and each time, Earth dies. The council won't authorize the launch, but we're out of time. I don't care if they court-martial me, someone has to act. Wow. Tension, rebellion, stakes are high. Wow, I love it. This is definitely science fiction, maybe dystopian. Notice the urgency and the technical language. From these examples, we see that tone matters because it changes how we respond. The exact same story, written with a different tone, could make us laugh or cry. It builds connections, it reveals the character's depth, it helps us feel the words on the page. Now, writers also use tone to build characters. A sarcastic character speaks differently than a hopeful one, right? And what about that pessimistic, glass half empty type of character? Now, as characters grow and change, their tone can also shift through the novel or through the story as well. So keeping the tone consistent in dialogues makes characters feel real and believable in that instant. But when a character undergoes a character arc, for instance, or alternatively a fall arc, it is the tone that's our first indicator of this evolution or devolution. Let's get into the details. Let's start with genre-specific tonal characters. So, different genres naturally lean into specific tones, and this reflects their themes, emotions, and narrative styles. So tone is how the author expresses their attitude, and that could be humorous, dark, hopeful, ironic, and the tone supports the genre's purpose. Here are a few examples. Let's take the horror genre, for instance. The tone would be foreboding, ominous, unsettling, and that builds suspense or fear in the reader. Think Stephen King's It. The book uses an eerie, dread-filled tone, and this keeps the readers on edge. And this obviously lends itself to pace and other considerations, but for now, let's just stick to how tone is used as a tool to enhance the genre. Moving on to romance, the tone may be hopeful, warm, passionate, and this will emphasize the emotional connection between characters. Think Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. The tone here is witty, romantic, matching the societal satire and the fact that it's a love story. And then, speaking of satire, the tone tends to be sarcastic, mocking, bitingly humorous in a satirical work. So think about George Orwell's Animal Farm. This book uses a darkly satirical tone to critique totalitarianism. Next, let's think about our expectations from our favorite authors in our favorite genres. Yes, we have genre-specific expectations, and that is why writers need to adopt certain genre-specific tones or incorporate these tones into their writing in order to satisfy the audience expectation. Readers expect certain tones when they pick up a book from a specific genre. Meeting or subverting those expectations is part of how authors engage their readers. So take, for example, the mystery writer or the mystery genre. Now, readers here expect a tense, curious, or analytical tone. If it suddenly shifts to comedy without any kind of setup, it could confuse or amuse readers. Now, some cozy mysteries blend a light-hearted tone with suspense to create a niche experience like Murder, She Wrote style fiction. All right. Now, science fiction, in the science fiction category, the tone might be clinical, philosophical, or adventurous, depending on the subgenres involved. For example, in The Martian by Andy Weir, the tone is scientific yet humorous, which pleasantly surprises readers expecting a bleak survival tale. And shall we talk about the use of profanity in that particular novel? I feel that it's worth doing a comparative analysis of tonal shifts because it informs us about things like author technique and reader impact within a genre, within a series, and even in a book itself, right? Let's take a few examples to illustrate what I mean. Now, just bear in mind that these tonal shifts can happen across various chapters within a book, or they may happen in a paragraph. Within a paragraph, you will see emotional or thematic effects being highlighted through tonal shifts. Let's take solid examples now. In the Harry Potter series, I want to specifically cite the Order of the Phoenix. Now, at the beginning, there's the sense of magic and wonder, and it's highly fantastical. But as the novel progresses, a dark grief sets in. The tone is mournful, and the sense of loss is just heart-wrenching. And this mirrors Harry's emotional journey as well. And then when we look at how tonal shifts occur between genres, let's compare the hopeful tone in a dystopian young adult novel like The Hunger Games with another novel in the same genre. Let's talk about 1984, Orwell's 1984. Now, both books are dystopian, but each book uses tone to steer the reader's emotional takeaways differently, right? So in The Hunger Games, we want to highlight the importance of resistance and rebellion, whereas in 1984, the intention or the takeaway was a sense of hopelessness about the future of our society. Studies have even shown that tone influences how we connect with what we read, whether it's emotional resonance, expectations, or how authentic the writing feels. Now, I'd say that that's pretty powerful for one aspect of writing, wouldn't you? From our discussion so far, we can glean that voice and tone have a major impact on storytelling. Now, POV, or the perspective from which the story is told, is just as important, and we will cover it in another tutorial, but just understand that the first-person narrative voice hits differently than a third-person narrative voice would. And these days, the unreliable narrator seems to be a POV of choice. With contemporary authors. Now, across cultures, tone and voice can vary widely as well, and that's what makes literature so rich. Now, voice and tone are not just confined to the world of fiction and, to bring figments of your imagination to life. In the professional world or in the business world, tone and voice matter just as much. In fact, they're critical to things like creating or building your brand identity, and they help to make communication feel trustworthy. So whether you're writing a novel or an email, tone is key. Thank you everybody for tuning in to English with Miss B. I hope you feel more confident in spotting and using tone in your own writing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on my episode or on the channel, and let me know what your favorite tonal example was in the tutorial today. Remember, the words you choose can change everything. Catch you on the flip side.
English with Miss B. Say it loud.